Welcome back to State of the Union. Voters may get a serious, I've seen this movie before, vibe at the ballot box in November with a likely Trump-Biden rematch. How will it play out this time? Here with me to talk about that and more is former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Thank you so much for being here. I have to start where I left off with Senator Murphy, and that is about President Biden calling on Congress to pass this bipartisan immigration deal that is emerging in the U.S. Senate so he can, quote, shut down the border right now and fix it quickly. Is that something you support?
Of course. Let me first say how proud we are of Senator Murphy for his long-term commitment to border security and honoring our values. This legislation is a compromise. It's a negotiation. And that's what we're here to do. Everybody doesn't have everything his or her own way. And this is really important. As he said, we'll see the particulars when they're all typed out and their members can see them first. But from what we have heard of it, the particulars of it, yes. And it's about, as he said, calibrated. When a certain number are coming across the border, the president can shut down the border.
You've said that we need to, quote, honor our responsibility to asylum seekers. Yeah. Does shutting down the border, which makes it harder for people to claim asylum, do that?
Well, the thing is about the asylum seekers, they're not served well by now because it takes a very long time to adjudicate their case. So what we want to do is to improve the situation at the border. I think that some of this adjudication should happen in country before they even leave, or at the Guatemalan border before they're at risk for life and personal security, et cetera, crossing a desert in Mexico. So they're not served now. But the asylum seekers, that's part of our value system. Every country accepts asylum seekers when they have a well-founded fear of persecution.
I want to ask just one more question on this, and then we'll move on. And you mentioned that this is compromise. President Biden seems to be giving Republicans a lot of what they have been pushing for. It doesn't look like on the issue of immigration, Democrats are getting much when it comes to top priorities, pathway to citizenship, or even protections for dreamers. Is that okay with you?
Well, the fact is that we need comprehensive immigration reform. That's not likely with the Congress that we have right now, so we have to move forward. This arrangement that the Democrats and Republicans in the Senate have negotiated is a step forward. We have a goal, we have milestones, and we have a path to get there. But we were never going to get a path to citizenship in this bill. But we do want to be able to, again, all of our principles that we talked about, secure our border, path to citizenship, protect the dreamers. Some of the principles are here, some are not, but we're on our way if we can get this done.
Let's talk about 2024. Mm-hmm. President Biden says the Republican primary is effectively over. It's clear that Donald Trump...
Before we go there, if I just may.
Yeah, please.
I wish the Republicans would pay attention to Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, in his last speech to the country as President of the United States, the great communicator. This is the last speech I will make to the country. I want to communicate a message to a country I love as the last speech as President of the United States. And he talked about the Statue of Liberty and the beacon of hope it is to the world, and that we are preeminent in the world because we are constantly reinvigorated and being young by new people coming here. He was magnificent.
That speaks to the sort of heart of the next question I want to ask you about the 2024 race, because it really does look like it's going to be Donald Trump, who is definitely quite different from Ronald Reagan, even though they're both Republicans, and President Biden, of course. We're back where we started.
Well, we're in an election, and we have a further case to make. When people are making a judgment about the election, they always think about what it means to them. What are their kitchen table issues? How do they meet their responsibilities? And as they look at Donald Trump, they have to see that he said Obamacare sucks. Forgive my Sunday morning, I'm sorry. Obamacare sucks. No, it doesn't suck. It cures. He wants to take away he has taken away a woman's right to choose and make decisions. And those are kitchen table issues. Health care, the cost of health care, the access to health care, not having a pre-existing condition no longer standing in your way. And the freedom, democracy is a kitchen table issue. The freedom to be who you are and to make your own decisions and to have a thriving economy in which you can succeed. And President Biden has accomplished that magnificently, working with the private sector. A lot of that happens in the private sector. So people have to understand what it means to them. If they want to vote for somebody with all these indictments and impeachments and all the rest, is that more important to them than losing their privilege of having health care if they have a pre-existing condition?
So it's the sort of positive side that you're talking about from your perspective.
Yeah.
What does it mean to them? But then it's also, what is the alternative? And last night, President Biden mocked Donald Trump, called him a little confused. He said Trump can't tell the difference between you and Nikki Haley. Now, let's put aside the substance of what Donald Trump was trying to say, which was not true, but just going at the core of what now President Biden is seizing on, which is what you have said, that you think Trump has cognitive disorders. Do you think age and mental acuity are fair lines of attack?
Let me just say this, because I, with all due respect, don't think we can put aside the substance of what he was saying when he was talking about Nikki Haley and me. Anybody can get a name mixed up 7 times is kind of a lot. But the fact is, he was lying about the fact that he would not send the National Guard to the Capitol when Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, and Nancy Pelosi were begging him to do it all day. Begging the Secretary of Army and the Secretary of Defense, acting Secretary of Defense, to call upon the president to do that, making that appeal to him. He refused to do it, causing death, damage, destruction, defecation, and all the rest. Disrespect for our Constitution, our Congress, and our Capitol. So it wasn't about, let's put aside what he was talking about. He was lying about what he didn't do. And he was saying Nikki wouldn't accept his 10,000 troops, which he wasn't sending, but it was me that was asking him.
Yeah, and I understand why you wanted to make that point. I just didn't want to suggest that what he was saying was true. But on the cognitive question, because this is a line of attack now from President Biden, who will likely be his opponent, is that fair? Is mental acuity, cognitive ability, is that where this conversation should be happening right now between these two candidates?
Well, I think that there's something to be said for, as we review the campaign, let's see what he has to say about things. Obamacare sucks? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Tens of millions more people have health care. 150 million families that might have a pre-existing condition now have access to benefits. What does it mean in terms of policy? Not what does it mean in terms of their misrepresentations that he might want to make from the stage. But let me say this. We don't agonize about him. We organize. When we saved the Affordable Care Act, we had 10,000 events around the country where people told their story. Their story. He has said he was disappointed that the Senate did not terminate their access to health care. That's what we're organizing around. And people are saying it in their own personal experience, in their own language.
One of the challenges that Democrats might have in organizing is some anger in some corners of the progressive movement over Joe Biden's support for Israel in its war against Hamas terrorists. How concerned are you, especially given the fact that we have seen protesters over and over and over at his events? How concerned are you that young people, Arab Americans, progressives, I'm not suggesting that they're going to go vote for Donald Trump, but how concerned are you that they might just stay home?
Well, let me just say this, because I've been the recipient of their, shall we say, exuberances in this regard as recently as in Seattle on Thursday, unfortunately, wanted to disrupt our very exciting Democratic meeting there. They're in front of my house all the time. So I have a feeling for what feelings they have. But we have to think about what we're doing. And what we have to do is try to stop the suffering in Gaza. This is women and children, people who don't have a place to go. So let's address that. But for them to call for a ceasefire is Mr. Putin's message. Mr. Putin's message. Make no mistake, this is directly connected to what he would like to see. Same thing with Ukraine. It's about Putin's message. I think some of these protesters are spontaneous and organic and sincere. Some, I think, are connected to Russia. And I say that having looked at this for a long time now, as you know.
You think some of these protests are Russian plants?
I don't think they're plants. I think some financing should be investigated. And I want to ask the FBI to investigate that. But apart from that, let's just say it's all spontaneous and sincere. Let's say it's all spontaneous and sincere. Young people care about the right to choose. They care about LGBTQ issues. They care about preserving the planet. They care about gun violence prevention. That's what they tell us. They care about our democracy and the freedoms that are contained in some of what I said. So they're going to have to make a decision, staying home to enable or to agonize, organize, not agonize, but organize, and get out there and get the job. I have every confidence that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be President and Vice President of the United States. I know we will carry the House. I'm confident that we can improve our numbers in the Senate, and we can do it because we're going to own the ground with our organizing. We're going to have a message of values for our country, and we're going to have the resources to get the job done.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, thank you so much for coming in this
week. We're
morning.
going to just win, baby.
Appreciate it.